Hi, and welcome to another edition of What's the Story on the People Chronicles. Visit us often, make us a favorite, thepeoplechronicles.com. My name is Joe Painter, and I have two very special guests to share a story today, and it's about an organization called the Shield of Angels. And with us is Linda Kennedy Hassel, and you are the founder.
Yes.
And Debbie Andrews, and you're a co-founder.
Yes.
What is Shield of Angels, other than the obvious, and who doesn't want to be surrounded by angels? I know I do. What is it?
Okay. Shield of Angels is an organization for mothers of murdered children and other tragic losses. And it was founded really approximately 1 year ago. And the reason it was founded was we had really discovered that women grieve differently than men, and there are a lot of women in Berks County who have experienced tragic losses, either through their children being murdered or through suicide, through maybe a cancer. And I myself have experienced the death of a child. I had a child who had died approximately 20 plus years ago. And I'm a licensed clinical therapist, and much of my practice is devoted to grief and bereavement counseling.
Were you a therapist prior to your daughter's death?
I was working in the field of hospice, and very instrumental in getting hospice set up in Berks County. And it was just rather ironic that at the time I was involved, she was diagnosed with leukemia.
How did that change your approach? You're a clinician and helping people through difficult times, and then you experience that difficulty. How did that change?
I believe it brings a new sensitivity to you because you have walked in the shoes, or you're walking in the shoes of the individual that you're serving, and you really develop a new sense of empathy for your patients and your clients.
So your initial connection is through hospice, which is where you were active, and then your daughter got sick and died, so you experienced that. But we started Shield of Angels, murdered children and tragic deaths. I have to say, first of all, isn't every loss, when I read that, does it matter the circumstance? Isn't every loss of a child tragic? How do you...
Absolutely, and that's why we had continued with other tragic losses, because you're absolutely right. I mean, I can think of no greater pain than any individual would have to deal with than that of the loss of a child.
I can't imagine. I have a girlfriend who lost a child, and I remember calling her up and saying, something to the effect of, I can't imagine, or something. I don't remember what came out of my mouth, as it does in those awkward situations. And she didn't miss a beat. She said, "You don't want to know. You don't want to know." So Debbie Andrews, you are a co-founder as well. How did you meet Linda, and what is your experience?
Well, my children died in a house fire in 1985.
You said children.
Pardon me?
Children. You lost more than one.
I had two daughters and their stepbrothers. They were visiting their father, and I had just talked to them that afternoon, and they were going to stay with their dad for a couple more days because their grandparents were coming to visit. And so we talked about them staying and getting their stuff ready to come home, and they were supposed to be home for Easter with me. But that evening, I got a phone call saying that they had died in the fire. All four children had died in the fire. So it has been, for me, a very, very long, hard struggle. I always knew that I would never do anything to myself. I always knew that I was different now. Every being that I was and every step I took was totally not me. I couldn't. My normal I had absolutely left. I didn't know how to be normal anymore. And I kept searching, and I just kept searching. And one I had lost my job only because for years it's a hard journey, and people tell you that you need to do something, and you know in your heart you can. And they actually told me that I had to work on Good Friday, which is the day that I buried my children. And they made it mandatory, so I went in and I said, okay, but I couldn't do it, and I left. I just could not. I got very sick, and I couldn't do it. So then, by me not having a job again, I went to the doctor, and he said, oh my God, what's wrong with you? I said, I can't. I don't know where to go. Here, and he gave me Linda's phone number, and it took me a little while, and I called her. And from that moment on, I knew I made the right decision.
By calling Linda?
By talking to Linda. All through those years, people would say, you got to talk about it, you got to talk about it. Who do you talk to?
How many years was this?
This is 30 years now.
That's a long time to
It is a long
not talk
time.
about it.
It is a long time. It's taken me a long, long time.
How many years until you spoke with Linda? From the time that
We're
you...
together, what,
3
3 years? Yeah.
So 27 years,
It's
you
a-
had nobody to talk with.
The first lady that was actually ended up to be a personal friend came to my apartment and said, if you come to my office, she was a counselor, whatever day I tell you to come, I don't care, just come. So for 2 years, I went to her office sometimes every day, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and cried. I didn't say a word. All I did was cry. I lost my voice. I became a recluse. I didn't go out. I couldn't be around people because I didn't know what to say. And then people would say, get over it, and I'd want to pull their hair out. Not to be mean, but I didn't know how to get over it, you know.
What was different with Linda?
Linda, when I walked in and I met Linda, I could feel her warmth and her kindness right off the bat. And I knew that there was something about Linda that I didn't know about, but I was going to find out about. And we started talking, and instantly I knew there was a connection. By knowing that she lost a child gave me faith, because she walks in my journey and she walks my walk every day. And she knows what I feel.
So
you
she
know.
was a living example of how you can make a new normal?
A new normal, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And someone once said, to do the work that I do, you have to experience the pain, but be free of the hurt.
How long does that take? I mean, is there a time? Like, for example, people are telling you, get over it, which seems awfully cold. There's not a specific time, is there?
There isn't a specific time. Even now, I can, at specific days, I can have a very difficult day. It may be Summerlin, that's my daughter's name. It could be her birthday. It could be a specific holiday. And I can go right back to that moment. It's trauma that will stay with you for the rest of your life, but it's not with me every day. And I can take my experiences and share them with my clients and give them hope that they will smile again and they will feel joy in their heart again, and that their life isn't over and that they will experience a new normal.
Linda Kennedy Hassel and Debbie Andrews are our guests here on What's the Story. And we're talking about Shield of Angels, and I think that may be the threshold to a new normal if you or somebody you know has suffered a tragic loss as well. We'll find out more about Shield of Angels in part 2 coming up.